Hey, you're listening to Pint of Comics. I'm Lloyd.
And I'm John. We swear a lot and spoil shit.
Fuck yeah.
Enjoy the show.
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo. Approved. Proceed to transport ID 83 for the Naval Academy at Kurita. Good luck, Han Solo. We'll have you flying in no time.
Oof. That one made a big fucking splash on the old Audacity. Ka-chunk.
Not to mention this mic.
Pint of Comics. Back for another week with you. I'm John.
I'm Lloyd.
And we are here to talk a little bit of trash, possibly some tolerable, or maybe just maybe some treasure.
Maybe straight up treasure.
You know, you've been here before. You've heard it before. And if you haven't, let's explain it real quick. We take a movie that by reputation, for whatever reason, sordid production, fandom is against it, has a bad reputation amongst fans, whatever it might be.
Or it just plain sucked.
Or it just plain sucked. It has a trash reputation. And we take those movies, we look at them, we dive into the problems that it might have had. We talk about the movie. We talk about, what might have gone wrong. We go over Rotten Tomatoes. We go over box office. And then we figure out what the fuck would happen with this movie. Tonight, the law's in the house. It's not Judge Dredd. We did an episode about Judge Dredd on the old TTT, and I declared it a treasure. 1995.
I am the law.
The law, I am the law.
So then I take it it's the Stallone one.
The Stallone one, absolutely. Not Dredd, which is a treasure as well.
Absolute treasure.
An actual real treasure, by the way. We got the law with us. We got Officer Mike Simonetta from Connecticut Cult Classics. He's been here before. He did a Triple T episode, I think the second one we ever did. We talked about Prometheus.
Yes.
From 2012. Right. I think we all came up with tolerable on that one.
Yep.
It might have been a treasure if Charlize Theron could have just maybe taken a quick left or a right and not gotten run over by the giant space horseshoe.
You'd be surprised how much that comes up in regular everyday conversation.
Whenever someone brings up that movie, it's usually like, what the fuck was with that scene?
Yep.
Well, that's just a trope in all the great movies. I remember thinking that in, you remember Christine, when the car's on fire, there's nothing on the side of the road, but the guy just runs straight down the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Gets run over. But, you that's how the special effects are set up. You got to go with it.
So I've got a bunch of movies put aside for this, and here's a recent one, 2018, right? It came out on May 25th of 2018. It's from a franchise that some of you may have heard of called Star Wars.
Maybe.
All right. This isn't a Last Jedi episode. That's easy picking, I think. Whether it is trash or not, maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode. But I think that's one most people would go to and say, that's got the trash reputation. We're going for Solo, a Star Wars story, because there's a whole lot to dig into in the production of this movie, right?
That I was not aware of. When you told me this movie, I was almost on the verging of, why are we doing this? This movie made $390 million.
Well,
how is it trash?
That's Disney for you. But it stopped the franchise because they were supposed to continue.
But what I'm saying is I was not aware of all that in digging into this.
Well, I shouldn't say the franchise.
Yeah.
Star Wars continues.
Oh, yeah. No, there was definitely a
side story.
It was like, we're going to slow down on this because originally, if you remember, there was going to be a Boba Fett thing and there was going to be an Obi-Wan thing. And this is before the shows, right? This is before The Mandalorian kind of came in and proved it's viable. All right. But Solo had a lot of issues. Before we get into it, Lloyd and I have talked about Star Wars on the show before. What's your fandom with Star Wars like, Mike?
So when I was a kid, I was brought to the theater to see the second one, or episode 5. Absolutely loved it. Because I'm old, I had to wait until they reran episode 4 back in the theater. Saw episode 6. I loved it all. I had action figures, comic books, everything. Shirts, T-shirts. I still have some shirts and T-shirts. I just loved it. I even read a lot of the expanded fiction, Timothy Zahn stuff, all that stuff.
Yep.
But I've come around to the fact that I think it is made for children.
Okay.
I watch it, I rewatch it now, and I enjoy it, but I think it's actually aimed for children. The writing, how it goes through. I mean, adults like it, but coming back at that now, like the quote unquote original trilogy, and you're no longer wowed by the special effects or anything like that. It's it's a super simple story. Good guys against bad guys. They're literally, some of them are dressed in white and black. Yeah. I just recently I watched Jedi, and I noticed that at the end, the Emperor taunts Luke about his friends. He doesn't say, like, we're going to crush the entire galaxy. We're going to crush, this whole movement. We're going to kill everything. No, it's just your friends, which is, it just struck me as like, that's like something you think about when you're kids. You worry about your buddies. You're not thinking about global politics and the other things like that.
Right.
Yeah, I never looked at it like that before.
All right.
I still like it though.
You're still a fan, but you're not like a fanboy.
Yeah. Don't like the prequels. Didn't like these last three.
Okay. All right. Were you a fan of Rogue One? Because
Yes.
Rogue One is, if you're going to talk about two movies that are in the same line, subtitle the Star Wars story, they are both taking place around the same time, but they don't have anything to do with each other necessarily, but they also don't necessarily fit in totally to the trilogies, other than being a cursory side story that has some support into it, right? Obviously, Rogue One leads into it, and this is an origin story for a character we know.
Yep.
But Rogue One, you would go as far as say, like, you love that one, or you really
I wouldn't say I loved it. There's some questionable parts. I actually have a few notes about comparing them and stuff, but like some of the robots and the robot in this one too, were a little questionable, but I liked Rogue One entirely. I was amazed when I saw it in the theater because that's a really dark movie for Star Wars.
All the heroes die.
Yeah, everybody
dark war
dies.
movie.
Everybody dies. I'm like, God damn, they just blew everybody up, man.
Yeah.
But I was impressed. We'll get into it more, but I think that succeeds because it has a singular focus. They need to steal plans. It's a big, elaborate, crazy thing to steal plans and then give it to somebody.
Right.
Not that we have to reference check every single thing, that
There is fan service in Rogue One. There's the scene, I watched it a few weeks ago, I hadn't watched it in a while. There's the scene where when they're on that Jeddah planet, they run into the guy that Luke gets into the fight with in the bar. And it's like, oh, hey, it's that guy,
Yep.
Dr. whatever his name is, Dr. fucking Funkenstein. But you're right. Solo seems to be like, okay, write a script around Han Solo's greatest moments.
Every little quip or little story, little thing that we've ever heard in the regular trilogy, let's just make a story about all that.
Yeah.
Which obviously no one needs that.
Well, we'll find out. Did we need it or did we not? We'll get to that.
All right.
So here's some info on it. Solo, a Star Wars story, as I said, came out May 25th, 2018. About 5 months after The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi really divided audiences, right? But, we're not even going to get into that tonight. We had an episode about that years ago.
Oh, yeah.
We almost got into fights between each other. But one way or the other, The Last Jedi came out and really pissed off a large grouping of Star Wars fans. Some of what you might call toxic fandom, even the non-toxic fandom. These people were not generally big fans of this movie. So you got a movie coming out 5 months later where you've already kind of pissed off, the world. That wasn't a good start. So this is in the end. Okay, this in the end of the day was directed by Ron Howard. We'll get into why that's in the end of the day. Ron Howard from Apollo 13, Willow, and I threw this in there for one reason: Ransom with Mel Gibson, because I just want to do this. I want to go, give me back my son.
Okay,
I just wanted to do
movie.
that. It is a good movie too. Gary Sinise plays that really shitty cop.
Great.
yeah.
He's the villain, by the way. Spoiler alert. But yeah, if you've never seen Ransom, it's a good one. Get rid of your Mel Gibson. We get it. He's not a great
just
guy.
put that out of your mind.
Put it out of your mind for 5 minutes. It was in 96 or 7.
Yep.
Written by Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote The Force Awakens, but more importantly wrote The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And he's, the guy's been around forever. He's done a bunch of stuff for Lucasfilm. His son, John Kasdan, who wrote, he was on the writing staff for Freaks and Geeks, the TV show. Mm-hmm. He's going to be writing the Willow Disney Plus series, which I didn't know they were doing. Reading this, I found that out.
I found that out doing research.
Lawrence Kasdan at one point started writing this, and then I guess he had to move off to finish Force Awakens, and John Kasdan took over. So there's a sign right there that it might be a little bit hoppy, that they might not have been working together, that they were working at different points. This thing was filmed between January 30th of 2017 to October 17th of 2017. all over the place. In Italy, I'm going to say these Trecime and Trentia, Italy, Canary Islands in Spain, and the world-famous Pinewood Studios in England. So the original directors, all right, that were initially hired to do this, and they worked on this movie for 4.5 months of principal photography, and they got it 75% done before they were fired. Were a couple of guys named Phil Lord and Chris Miller, okay? These guys, now I'm going to read off some of the stuff they've done, and you're going to start going, And that's where I got questions for you guys. So Lord and Miller, as they're called, wrote and directed Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Sure. Yep.
Right? Which is a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. The Lego Movie, which I slept on forever. And when I finally watched it, I went, fuck, that was great.
That was a great movie.
I really enjoyed the Lego Movie. And they did the 21 and 22 Jump Street movies, which I haven't gone back to, but they were funny. They were funny.
21 was good. I didn't see 22.
They were.
First one's a lot better.
First one is better for sure. The second one has a lot of meta jokes about sequels.
All right.
Right. It references that it's a sequel a lot. But here's the thing. So they get through, they start this whole thing, and all of a sudden, Kathleen Kennedy and the Disney powers that be start to come across their dailies, and they have issues with it's too comedic. Okay. They're being given specific things that they want them to do. They want them to shoot certain shots in 5 different angles, and they're only doing 2. They're not listening to Disney.
All right. You got to listen to Disney, folks.
Right.
Yes.
So at a point, Disney comes in and says, okay, they send Lawrence Kasdan, who has directed movies, Silverado, Wyatt Earp, on his own, the writer. They sent him to the set. And now Lord and Miller, they're sending him here to watch us. He's like a shadow director is how they feel.
Yeah.
They never said that, but he's there to kind of get them to write, get them to direct the stuff that he's writing. He kind of said that they were adjusting stuff too much to be funny. So here's the question. I'll start with you, Officer Mike. We have an established Star Wars universe, right? And no matter whether you like them or not, prequels and everything, the overall tone of all the films is similar, right? You have a similar tone. Would you have wanted to see a heavier comedic element in a Han Solo story?
I don't know that I particularly want a comedic element to it, but after Rogue One, I thought that these side stories were going to be the place where people could play and have some actual style and not be exactly like every other thing. The Star Wars Bible by this point that Disney has, it must be 2 feet thick,
right,
of every rule of everything, of every ever that you have to do. And it's funny, you talked about that they were only doing certain shots. That's because they wanted a specific style. So I actually dig hard into cinematography. And when you do tons of coverage, that's so that somebody in the editing room can create it how they want it to be.
Right.
So if you only, like this pair was, if you only take very specific shots, then that's all it is. And so, that's what the movie's going to come out to be. And they did not want, a specific feel for this. They wanted it to be in that same vein of every other movie.
So Disney didn't have the reason they wanted what you're saying is the reason they wanted the extra shots is so that in the editing bay, Disney had an option of saying, I don't like what they did, these 3 things here that were their ideas, but we made them do these 3 other things. Pick one of those. I like this one, so they can keep it company line.
Yes. And then there's also a bit of style that you see in really good movies where they have, specific tracking shots or one specific long shot,
right,
etc. But by getting, 5 shots of coverage every single time, you can cut and, keep cutting back and forth and keep a really quick style and a quick feel. And, obviously that's what these directors are going for.
It gives you more freedom in editing.
Yeah. Well, it gives you more freedom, but it also allows you to create whatever you want.
Yeah.
So
you don't have the tunnel vision.
I've listened to some great directors, who've written and directed, and then where they're really in on what they're doing, and they always say they're not shooting from every angle because they know what they want it to be. So they know we're going to take it from the left, one close up, but I don't need it from the right, the top, all the other places because that's not the movie I want to make. But Disney wants that. So
right,
Lloyd,
and Disney's the boss.
Do you feel the same way? Would you have wanted to see maybe a little bit of a different style of movie than what we got?
Well, I think you can, being that it's a side story, you can be a little different. But again, well, in Han Solo's character, there's comedy in that inherently in Han Solo. So I don't mind there being a little more comedy in it. But I like what Officer Mike said, explanation of all the scenes, and then Disney can just do what they really want to do.
Right.
And screw the director's vision.
And as we said, like Disney's probably the wrong, as soon as they got hired by Disney, they had to know that, okay, so if we go over and we make 23 Jump Street for this company, they're probably going to let us do what we want to do because they know, we have our track record with that. But unfortunately, then you go work for Disney and it's like, you're just making, it's like the MCU movies, right? They have some really good directors working for them, but I'm sure, and they probably have the ones that have a little bit more leeway, but they're still working for Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Taika Waititi did a great job with Thor Ragnarok, but did he get to do everything he wanted to do? Probably not.
No way.
No.
I'm sure they said, we can't do that scene. Let's do this and let's figure this out. So the way it works for the DGA, for Directors Guild of America, you have to film 90% of the movie to get a director's credit. Now, they fired Lord and Miller. They say this isn't going to work out. They cannot put Kasdan in the director's seat because one of the rules is that if directors get fired, you can't replace them with somebody that's already part of the production.
Right.
So he probably would have been the one that would have gotten the job, but they couldn't. They came down to two guys. They picked Ron Howard, right? Who, let's just be honest, whether you like Ron Howard or not, he's a safe bet, right?
Yeah, he's safe.
Backdraft. He knows how to make a movie.
Richie Cunningham.
He's Richie Cunningham.
He
Richie's
did
good
Cocoon
guy.
too.
What he did, Cocoon,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
So he's got some really good movies under his belt.
He does.
He found his thrill on Blueberry Hill. I mean, yeah, but he has good movies under his belt. Beautiful Mind, he won an Oscar. I don't know if he won a director's Oscar, but he's been involved in Academy Award winning movies, if that means something to anybody. But they go out and they get him. The other person that they looked at and they decided not to was Joe Johnston, who made The Rocketeer and Jurassic Park 3, and he's been like an ILM Spielberg guy as well. Mm-hmm. They didn't go with him. They went with Howard. So you're supposed to make 90% of the movie. In the end, Ron Howard ended up, let me see here, give me a second. Where was it? Howard worked for 3.5 weeks of actual shooting time, new shooting, and then spent 5 weeks on reshoots. Okay. So he pretty much got to, I think they said, about 75% of the movie of what we finally see in the end is his. Technically, that would not make him be able to get the credit, but Lord and Miller accepted an associate producer's credit or executive producer's credit, and that's how they came to that agreement. He technically didn't do enough of the movie to get the credit by their rules, but they worked out an agreement with Lord and Miller. So he does all these crazy reshoots. That's where we get there. Let's talk a little bit about the cast. Let's talk about who's in this movie and see if this is where people might feel that this thing goes absolutely off the fucking rails.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I didn't really even know this guy. So as Han Solo, you have Alden Ehrenreich.
Yes.
That's how you say it. I'm just guessing. As young Han Solo, the cynical smuggler. I don't really know anything about him. Why don't you tell me?
I'm with you.
He was in the Coen Brothers movie where it was like 60s Hollywood.
Hail Caesar.
Yeah, Hail Caesar, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's good. I think this is the one decent decision. I mean, he's doing bad material, but I think he carries the swagger, in my opinion.
I think he's halfway between a good performance and an imitation.
Well,
Which is what is expected.
I mean, he did get insight and advice from Harrison Ford himself.
Right.
yeah.
So I'm sure he was influenced by trying to be Harrison Ford. I mean,
And that's okay. I mean, because in the end, Harrison Ford is the character of Han Solo.
yeah.
So, but there were points where I felt like he's taking over the lead of this movie, and then there were some points where I felt like he's just kind of like trying to do the Han Solo thing. It's hard to describe.
And I'm sure Disney needed him to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you want a list of some other contenders for that role?
Yeah.
It's a long list.
Oh.
All right. Miles Teller, Ansel Elgort, Dave Franco, Jack Rayner, Scott Eastwood, Logan Lerman, Emery Cohen, Blake Jenner, Taron Egerton, Chandler Riggs, Rami Malek,
Eef. I like Rami Malek, but I can't see him being Han Solo.
Aaron Taylor Johnson and Tom Felton.
I'll tell you the one that I remember at the time being hyped up to be Solo was Taron Egerton.
Yeah.
Because he had just done Kingsman. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time they were talking about Solo kind of seriously on the internet, reading that Taron Egerton was like the front runner for the role.
Yeah.
Do I think he would have done a better job? I don't know. Because I don't think, what's his name? Alden, his name is, it's so long, but it's also so forgettable. Alden Ehrenreich?
Yeah, that's the guy.
He's got the very similar name, and you just read the kid's name off from Baby Driver, Ansel Elgort.
Elgort, yeah.
They're both of their names sound like fucking Harry Potter spells. Alden Ehrenreich.
Right. And I could definitely not see Miles Teller in that.
No.
You know what? Miles Teller, though, is good.
He is good, but, well, maybe he's good enough to overcome.
Miles Teller has that attitude, which might work. You don't agree? You don't think so, Mike?
Well, I don't know, because I find that his look actually comes across, I feel, I think he's somewhat convincing, just he himself,
right,
as a young Harrison Ford. If you were in a different movie and you did a flashback and you showed me him, younger, I wouldn't question it or say that's terrible. Or
no, you're talking about who?
Alden.
Okay, yeah, right.
The actual actor, yeah. I would, like I said, I was fine with him. I think he just got crap to do.
Do you think? Now we'll get into the cast further, and there's one person in this cast that I think is pivotal. Do you think without Woody Harrelson, right? I think Woody Harrelson helps to carry a large load in this movie, and we'll talk about that in a second. Do you think Ehrenreich or Alden, all right, could carry this movie without that character if it was just him and then maybe some of the lower characters with him?
No, because that's he's the pseudo father figure. He brings, outside of the opening where he's on his home planet, he brings them all the way along everywhere, and he guides and tells them what to do and walks them through everything. He's the linchpin. Even with Lando, who I thought, again, that character is a solid choice. But if it was just the two of them without that linchpin pseudo father character, I don't think it would work.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right. So I spoiled that one for you.
All right, here's my next one. Woody Harrelson as Tobias Beckett. He's basically a criminal and Han's mentor. Now, the character of Beckett was based on Long John Silver from Treasure Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The only part about his character I thought was stupid was, I get it. You get Woody Harrelson and, balding guy. That stupid fucking, over the eye haircut. I didn't dig that. It's
really?
like, come on.
I don't know. It didn't bother me.
Yeah. I like Woody, right? Yeah. Woody's always good no matter what he's in. And, I like Beckett. This is a character that I wish, if things didn't turn out in this movie, he would have lasted longer.
Yep.
Well,
they could have got Ted Danson. All right. And also another name associated with that role, Christian Bale.
Yes, he was I think the final besides Woody Harrelson.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think Woody brings some humor to it that I don't think Christian would.
Yeah, Bale is definitely flatter, right?
Yeah.
And he would have yelled at somebody.
Woody can do anything. Not that Christian Bale can't, but Woody can literally do anything.
Yeah.
Then we have Emilia Clarke as Kira, Han's childhood friend, romantic interest. She's basically a survivor. They grew up together as kids. And I'm pretty sure she likes to...
Yeah. Look, Emilia Clarke's a good actress. Number one, I'll say that. She's beautiful. Fucking snoozeball character. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know. Lloyd, did you care? I mean, here's the problem. It's a prequel, so we know that he's not going to end up with her. We know eventually Leia. We know all that stuff. But even if you didn't know that, did you really care about whether or not they got together?
I guess I don't care so much if they got together because I knew they weren't, like you said. But I think maybe her story is interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they make her out to be like this crime lord and everything. But I don't know. Every scene she was in, by the way, pardon me for while you're listening to this, my dog is going fucking apeshit in the background. But hey, that's one of the things we got to do here.
We love dogs. We're an animal-friendly podcast.
Animal-friendly and raising pro
in a galaxy far, far away. There are dogs.
Yeah. I don't know, Mike. Kira, did you feel that she was just kind of like a boring character? I don't know. There's something.
I like Emilia Clarke. I like her better dyed blonde, but hey, she was fine. She's a beautiful girl. I think the problem in the beginning is she's like just a throwaway trophy. And then she comes back to be something really big, but they just literally throw her away
Right.
for I
And
don't know.
that's
how
probably
long.
more interesting than what Han's story.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know how long she disappears, but she just disappears for the longest time.
Yeah, it seems like he's been gone for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and that's what he says too. And which seems strange because if you took off on somebody and it's like 6 years later and you're like, but I was planning to come back.
Right. I'm
Seriously?
on my way right
Yeah.
now back to you.
Yeah, I've been,
Like if it'd been like it's been a while, can't do it.
I've been trying to get a ship for the last 6 years. Like,
Yeah.
I moved on. I joined the fucking.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll still get that ship and then I'll come get you.
I joined the Space Corleones while you were away.
Space
What the fuck do you
Corleones.
want from me?
Nice.
Yeah. It's also naive of Han, who Han is a pretty smart guy. Do you think somebody's going to be there 5-6 years later?
Well, Han is a lot more idealistic as a young man.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
agree. I agree. I think this movie's supposed to show you where he started.
Yeah.
And not where he ends up because I'm gonna get a ship and go back and save this girl. It's like that's not the Han we know.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's not a lot of people a lot of people would be like, yeah, it's been 6 years, man. She's either dead or on her fourth wedding or fourth marriage.
Yeah. She's got no teeth.
She's got no teeth.
She's a
Yeah,
meth head.
she's 400 pounds. Something is wrong.
yeah.
A couple other names associated with that role: Tessa Thompson, Naomi Scott, and Zoe Kravitz.
All right.
Those are good choices.
Yeah, definitely.
Tessa Thompson, man, she's great.
She is.
Then we have Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. You know him. He's a smuggler, gambler, self-proclaimed sportsman on the rise.
He
With
cheats.
sweet capes.
Yes.
He has
sweet
a lot
capes.
a lot of sweet capes, and
A whole room full of capes.
he cheats at sabacc, as
Yes.
they call it. One of the things I liked about this, one of the things that I laughed at when I put out on Twitter that we were doing this movie and what did you think about it? And a lot of people, this one got mostly tolerables and some trashes, almost no treasures. But one person, I don't know who it was because I don't have it in front of me right now. I should, but I don't. Said I enjoyed the movie, even though I was really distracted by Donald Glover playing Prince, and I kind of had to laugh at that.
I think he did a pretty good job channeling Billy D. Williams because
Yeah.
the very first time you hear his voice, I think, before you even see him. And when I heard the voice, I'm like, that's Lando.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool.
And I think he has the best callback joke in the fact that Billy D. Williams couldn't say Han correctly.
Han, yeah.
Oh, okay. Han.
So they made a thing out of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I liked a lot of his delivery. I like his lines.
No,
What's that one line he says? I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I accept it.
Yeah, with his cut being
Yeah.
brought down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was perfect, Lando. He was in, you might know him as Childish Gambino.
Yep.
Yeah, he had that big, weird viral video hit. Community, The Martian, and he was a writer for 30 Rock.
I think he did a great job.
Yep. Then we have Tandy Newton as Val, Beckett's wife, fellow criminal and part of the crew.
Why?
Yeah.
Like I like Tandy Newton, but
I like her too, but it was a throwaway character.
absolute.
She's so
throwaway
good
character.
as Maeve in Westworld, and she's so wasted here.
She is totally wasted here. I mean, it's good that they went and got. There's a couple. There's two bigger actors. One's a voice and one's her that end up dying in the same scene. But it's like sometimes you could see it when they get the voice actor to do that. Like, okay, that was a little cameo, but it's like, why was she in this? It's
Well, also that she dies, and you would assume that her and Woody have been together for years, and he's over it in like
wicked fast.
10 minutes.
Yeah,
Wicked fast.
one punch and that's it. All right, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm like, the
wasn't
love of
even
your
for that.
life just
Yeah.
literally blew herself up,
Yeah,
and you're like, meh.
Yeah.
yeah, that made no sense to me. Then you have Phoebe Waller-Bridge as L337, the droid companion for Lando.
Fucking
Well, it was unique.
no.
No.
This is
It was unique.
This is our current Jar Jar Binks in the Star Wars universe. Like I'm surprised when people like don't this performance. I have no problem with her. I hear she's very funny. She's in the new. She's going to be in the new Indiana Jones. She helped write.
She's in Fleabag.
She helped
and
write
she's
the new
great.
Bond movie, right? She's obviously
she's quite
talented.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying she's not, but in this movie, her character annoys the fuck out of me.
So, but you don't think she's not good?
No, I have no problem
I think
with her.
she's great as that droid.
And and for her, that's a voiceover. She went in a booth and
No,
No, she was there.
She was there.
Was she
Yeah.
green screened in?
She wore, I think, like the
Yeah, the
some
head
of
or
it.
something.
the top part, and then she
And
was
green.
in the scenes, and then they green.
okay.
They did that with Alan Tudyk in Rogue One. He was on stilts, and he had some of the stuff on, and then they just kind of worked around it. That movie, I love that K2SO character. I like him. He's got that kind of like that smarmy wit. There's something about that character I like, and this one, and she's in a lot less of this than he's in that other one. But she just gets under my nerves. The whole, like she's the droid freedom fighter and everything. It just, none of it really worked for me. And then they also infer, I'm sorry, I know on the show a long time ago, Lewis said that this is not true. They also infer that Lando fucks her, which is just weird. When she says,
well, that's because, it works.
it works.
But he seems more upset over the droid than Woody about his wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
The
Because
girlfriend.
he goes there and carries her away.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
When she dies, he's genuinely, thunderstruck. He's he's out in the field of battle, and Han has to go and get them, because he's sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess they sort of retconned the whole, the quirkiness of the Millennium Falcon, when they uploaded her navigation system.
There's a line in Empire Strikes Back that now is supposed to make sense based on this movie.
Yeah,
when
right.
C-3PO says that there's he says something about a language that's I can't remember if he
The
said
most peculiar dialect.
most peculiar dialect,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be her.
Then we have Junis Suotamo as Chewbacca, the Wookiee, obviously. And he did appear in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Yep, we saw him. Remember at Rhode Island Comic-Con?
Yeah, we saw him at Rhode Island.
Big Nordic guy.
Big dude. Obviously, he's Chewbacca.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not Peter Mayhew.
Anybody could be in that suit.
it's true.
Have you guys ever met Peter Mayhew?
No,
Never met him.
He's a dick.
Well, he was.
Really?
He
He
was,
was a dick. Yes.
Yeah, I've heard he was cantankerous.
Yes. And I always thought even then, I'm like, man, anybody could be in that suit. And somebody later could go, whatever.
They got Jonas to do it now. So
Yeah.
Then we have Paul Bettany as Dryden Voss, the ruthless crime lord who's got a history with Beckett. Now, I didn't realize that he was really an alien, just a humanoid, half mountain lion, half human type.
no, he's not.
Well, that's what I heard.
No, listen, stop.
All right, what are you telling me?
So
Go ahead, tell me.
this is part of the production problems.
All right.
Michael K. Williams from The Wire originally played Dryden
Oh,
Voss.
so that was the one that was.
He was a half lion humanoid
Yep.
character that I don't even know if they ever fully had made him up or if it was going to be CGI. He plays Dryden Voss, right? When they fired Lord Miller and the movie took a little bit of a break, he was shooting the Red Sea diving resort,
Yep.
and I think he was in maybe it was like Africa, South Africa. He couldn't come back for reshoots. So they basically told him, we have to cut you out, unfortunately, and that's part of the reshoots, is reshoot all the Dryden Voss scenes with a different actor. Paul Bettany had gotten word that they were looking for somebody, and he had made 2 movies with Ron Howard. He was in fucking Tom Hanks, Indiana Jones. What's that? The
Da Vinci Code?
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
He was in the Da Vinci Code, and he was in another Ron Howard movie. He calls Ron Howard and says, hey, look, I'd love to fucking do this. Next day, he's on a flight to London to film, but they changed the character. They made him a humanoid with no line features. And then
Right,
after...
no features, but he's still not human, though.
Well, but he didn't know that until after the movie.
Okay.
He sees after the movie's wrapped, he sees a scene where his face is turning red. He has those stripes that turn red on his
Yeah,
face.
he's got the
That was
scars
all
or whatever.
decided to be done after. So that was
Okay.
all added in.
All
so
right.
he had no clue about that.
All right.
But yeah, that is Paul Bettany, and yeah, it was supposed to be Michael K. Williams, and Michael K. Williams filmed pretty much his entire
most of the role.
right? But couldn't finish it, so they had to get rid of him.
We have Aaron Kellyman as Enfys Nest, the leader of the gang of pirates called the Cloud Riders.
She's pigeonholed into this kind of role, I noticed, because as she took her helmet off, I saw this movie once in the theaters. I had not seen it since.
Right.
And I just recently bought it on Blu-ray. So I was like, I want to watch it at some point. Takes the helmet off, and I'm like, that's the chick from Captain America and the Winter Soldier, who was the rebel in that. She was the villain in that.
Oh, okay.
And so she has this, I guess, penchant for playing these rebellious kind of characters.
That whole Enfys Nest thing, the Marauders or whatever,
It is
it's just a waste of time.
yeah. We've essentially, Solo is a 4-pound bag that someone tried to throw 20 pounds of shit in.
Yeah.
Well,
What, you agree or you?
More. No, I more than that. I mean, it's just the idea that this old Star Wars cliche too, that she had this big scary outfit.
Yeah, the helmet
And then
the
it
voice.
comes out and it's just like a little girl.
Yeah.
She's not a little girl, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's been passed down from my mother, and I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what all that was about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then we have Jon Favreau as the voice of Rio Durant, alien killer character who's a pilot for Beckett's crew.
Yeah,
Now, when I saw this, I did not know this was Jon Favreau.
I did, just because you could kind of tell from the voice.
Yeah.
He's doing a Jon Favreau cartoon voice, basically.
Right. I mean, it doesn't sound like Jon Favreau.
Oh, he does.
But it sounds like him playing a cartoon.
Right. It sounds like him. Like, oh, I'm a pilot, like that.
Yeah.
and I thought that was the worst character.
I did not think it was great.
just-
Yeah, it was not good.
It wasn't great, but I would have preferred him through the whole movie than L3.
Well, yes, but
Yeah.
I mean, him. What did he have? 6 hands or whatever?
Yeah.
Crawling around the ship or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, this is terrible.
He just nicked my shoulder.
What was the line? What was the line that Solo? I thought it was so out of place for a Disney movie, where he says he knows what kind of he's an alien. He's like, when he's made up like this, like the Imperial soldier.
Yeah.
And he's got the gas mask on, but you could tell it's obviously someone in there, and he sees him picking his pants up with that rear arm. And Solo goes, I saw your hand come out of your ass to pick your pants up. I'm like,
Yeah.
did they just say that line in a Disney movie? Like, I saw your hand come out of your ass.
They can say ass one time.
Yeah, but I
There
mean,
you go.
hand coming out of an ass just seems like a lot.
Moving on, we have Linda Hunt as the voice of Lady Proxima, the big serpent type leader of the gang that's in charge of Han and Kira when they're young.
It's the Oliver Twist gang.
Yeah, it's stupid. I'm sorry.
No, it's true.
It's how in God's name does a snake that lives in a pit
Underwater.
rule
Yeah.
a huge gang? It's
and she's allergic to sunlight, which nobody decides to fucking
nobody
to
queued us
exploit.
in before that.
Right. You think these kids would just go, hey, you know what? Next time we go in there, let's all break the fucking windows.
Right.
She won't be able to surface, and that's it. It's over. But none of them are that fucking smart. I'll go to an extra ration of oatmeal today. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And I'll do one more, only because he deserves it. Anthony Daniels as a Tack, character named Tack, making him the only person to appear in every Star Wars film.
Yeah, they couldn't fit C-3PO in, so they said we have to have him in here somewhere. Yeah, and based on everything I've ever heard, whatever you might have said about Peter Mayhew, Anthony Daniels is worse. Anthony Daniels is supposedly an abusive prick. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kenny Baker couldn't stand him. Like they were not. It was not C-3PO and R2-D2. All right, Manser, that's the cast. Why don't we talk about before we get to box office? Let's go to Rotten Tomatoes. Because I think this one on Rotten Tomatoes,
it's high for Rotten Tomatoes.
isn't
for a
that
triple
bad,
T,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the tomato meter
Tomatoes.
is 69%, giving it a nice red, fresh tomato.
wow, that's
And
surprising.
Even the audience score is above 60 at 64%.
So this for one of these things we've done.
Yeah.
This is in the high range.
One of the higher scores for a triple T.
and one of the surprising ones. The other one that we go back to that was surprising was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Right.
Was fresh as well.
Yep.
Fresh as well. So I guess as we've talked about in these shows, it's not always about what the critics think. Sometimes it's what the fans think. What determines a trash movie, and that's kind of what we're trying to figure out. All right, I think box office is probably one of the biggest indicators in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about box office, and let's talk about what makes this so special in the Star Wars world.
Alrighty. So this thing had a $275 to $300 million budget with promotions and stuff like that. Now, the box office opening weekend was $103 million. And world domestic full year 213 and worldwide 393. So it did not cover the expenses. It needed to make what, 500 million is what I read in order to break even. It didn't even come close. So it's the first one to actually lose money.
Right. I think the only other one that lost money, which we'll say doesn't count, was that Clone Wars cartoon.
Oh,
I think that lost money. But this is a live action Star Wars movie.
This is a movie.
Mike, would you ever think you'd live in a world, right? Because you're old enough that
Do you live in a world?
in a world.
in a world. Did you ever think you would live in a world where a Star Wars movie would make enough money back?
No, but it also it's kind of crazy that we are in a world that 500 million is the minimum.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
that's
right,
the
right.
expectation. I mean, that's kind of crazy, but I'm not surprised because I was worried as soon as Disney got it and they were like, we're going to have a Star Wars movie every single year. And, you know, real movie, side story, plus TV. So I was like, it's too much. It's just too much. It's
too much.
You're going to
Oversaturation.
dilute it and you're going to come out with some terrible crap. And,
Yeah, you need a good 7 years between Star Wars movies.
and I don't know if he's seven.
that
but
too much?
Seven's a
five-
little long.
three to five between big tentpole movies.
Yeah,
is a that's where
Well, you're a Bond fan. What did you think of like years ago when Bond was every 2 years? Do you think that that's doable for most of these movies?
No, because I mean, when that was Roger Moore's reign, and they were, you know, just flesh thrown on top of a couple of stunts, and you know, moronic for the most part. So,
Right.
you know, I really liked. There's some stinkers in there, but I liked that when they rebooted with both Pierce Brosnan and the newest run, that they took a long time, and those first movies were great.
Yeah.
I mean, it really showed it off.
The Pierce Brosnan run really declined.
Well,
Like,
yes, but
for-
GoldenEye was great.
GoldenEye's great. Tomorrow Never Dies is World Is Not Enough is and then fucking the Die Another Day.
Yeah.
You know,
I
Die
feel-
Another Day has moments, but like when you get into the invisible car,
I know.
like come on.
I feel bad because I really like Pierce Brosnan as Bond. I
do
like
too.
him.
Yeah.
I just the producers.
I remember as a kid really wanting him to be Bond.
Yeah, but the producers. I mean, same thing as this. The producers run this, and so nobody else gets to do things. It's the same way. You know, Brosnan's been on interviews, etc., and he was like, "I don't want all these gadgets. We're getting too far away from the character.
Right.
Yada yada yada." But it's not up to him.
Yeah.
The same thing here.
Right.
Like kind of last word on Bond is that Bourne kind of made them change, right? The Bourne franchise came out and you get this like different hard hitting, you know, and I love the Craig overall. There's ones that aren't as good as others. I love the idea of the Craig movies overall, but it's different. It's basically a faster, harder hitting, less of the gadgets and more of the in your face action that a Bourne movie had.
Right. It's changing with the times.
Changing
Yeah.
with the times. Yeah.
Mission Impossible hit him too hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that series really took off.
All right. So back to Solo.
Back to Solo.
Yeah.
Any other box office information that we need here, Lloyd?
Not unless you want to know the year and the week.
Yeah. Let's go over just what came out that week. Let's see if anything came out that really would have like drawn people's attentions elsewhere.
Well, at number 5, Life of the Party. Yay.
What the fuck that is?
Yeah. At number 4, Book Club.
I don't know what that is.
All right. You know, number 3, Avengers Infinity War.
Okay.
In
So,
its 5th week.
so that's a hard movie to compete against.
22 million.
That's a hard, even in its 5th week. That was a phenomenon, that movie.
You'll know this one, Deadpool 2.
Okay. Yeah.
At
Yeah.
number 2, 53 million in its 2nd week.
Interesting.
And number 1 that weekend, Solo, A Star Wars Story, 103 million.
Now,
And this is domestic, by the way.
I'm interested in this one. Where did Solo end up for the year?
All right, here we go.
Because most years, when we talk about movies and there's a Star Wars movie in that year, it's in the top 2.
Yep.
If a Harry Potter movie came out the same year and or a Marvel movie, that might have moved it around a little bit. But I'm curious, where is
All right,
it?
I'm going to play the little game that I like to do now.
Oh, I like your games.
All right, so I'm going to give you number 11, 12, and 13.
Okay.
And you tell me what order.
All right.
All right. I am going to go alphabetically. A Star is Born, Solo, A Star Wars Story, or Venom. What order?
I defer to Mr. Simonetta. I want to hear what Officer Mike says.
I'm going to say Venom's the bottom, Solo in the middle, Star is Born.
You are correct, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
Star is Born was big that year.
Good job.
I've never seen it, but I think that one did that one.
Very,
Best
very
Picture?
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Venom
it
was 213.5, Solo 213.7, Stars Born is 215.
What kind of a world are we living in where a movie like A Star is Born, and I'm not saying anything about the quality, but can beat a Star Wars movie?
Right.
Because
A remake, a third
third time
remake.
remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not to mention, Star is Born is the kind of movie that you go out on a date with, or you go out with your wife. You don't bring your kids. Solo, you're bringing your kids. You're going to see it on a date. The options to see Solo are endless.
Right.
So that movie should, it says a lot. It says a lot.
It also says a lot because usually the Star Wars films, kids and a lot of people go back over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Watch it 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah,
Now
no
it's
one's going back to see this. No.
No, I didn't ask you guys. I saw it in the theaters, and I remember this. I think I mentioned this to you because Lloyd was, we have our little text, and Lloyd kept challenging me on this one. Why are you doing Solo? And I'm like, because it's got a bad rep.
Because I didn't know anything about that.
Right, and I'm like, it's got a bad rep. It's got, fandom isn't super crazy about it. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we put it out to Twitter, and most people were either tolerable or high tolerable. That was the consensus.
Yeah.
Some were trash, and maybe one or two said treasure. But this is a Star Wars movie where if I threw out other Star Wars movies, you're going to get a lot more, oh, that's a treasure, or if you're talking about Lost Jedi, you're probably going to go either treasure or trash. But this one is everybody's hitting the middle, it was okay. It was this, that was the other thing. As I mentioned to you when you were asking me about this, I went and saw Solo. So I think it came out like either on a Wednesday holiday week or a Friday, whatever that day was. I went the Monday. So like I had no work on the Monday following. Now granted, Mondays, especially if it's not a holiday weekend, people are working. But I've gone to plenty of movies on weekdays where there's people in the theater.
Yep.
I was like me and one other guy. The weekend it opened. That's mind blowing.
That's mind blowing, yeah.
And I remember leaving the theater and just feeling like
underwhelmed.
That's, that is a perfect word for how I felt about this the first time. So what I want to ask you guys is, did you guys go see this?
I did not see it in the theater, no.
Okay. Lloyd?
I will tell you how I saw it. Not in the theater. I used to go to the Edge Fitness Center.
Yep.
And they had this place called the Edge Cinema. You go in there, you ride a bike or you run or whatever. And they have a big movie screen. And so it was actually playing in there. You go in whatever point of the movie that you go in.
Yep.
It's not from the beginning. And wouldn't you know it, I started watching it at the point when we find out that somebody is a turncoat.
Oh, okay.
So I knew that part before I watched any other part of the movie.
So you're like the guy that walks in at the end of the movie.
So I saw that part, I stayed and watched the end while I was running or whatever. And then I watched it again about a year later, or maybe less than a year, while I was folding laundry. So little distracted, but I thought it was okay. I remember thinking, oh, that's okay.
Yeah. And that was most of the answers we got.
Yeah.
Joey from So Wizard said that when he saw it the first time, it was a big meh. And he said he's watched it a million times since then because he, as you said, he'll have it on in the background when he's doing laundry or something.
Yeah.
So he's like, I like it more now as programming almost. Like, my brain's used to it because I just throw Disney Plus on and it's on. And it's something that you don't have to pay attention to.
Exactly.
Right. Now, Mike, I'm curious about this before we get into our likes and dislikes.
Yep.
You said you had a list of stuff, of comparisons between Rogue One and Solo, kind of things you kind of wanted to kind of touch on a little bit. I'm curious.
Well, first off, for me, you said you liked the robot in Rogue One, but
I did.
I also found it, for me, it felt like you needed a C-3PO style, pseudo annoying, robot sidekick, and I could have lived without both for either of them.
Okay.
And this one is the most obnoxious, of course, and then the other parts is just where almost the scene stops. There's so many in both movies where the scene stops to kind of drop like a reference to the other movies. It's just this one is so cheap, obvious. Other than that, I still think Rogue One is a much better movie, but the collection of a weirdo rogues gallery was also the same, feel. When he finally gets in with Woody Harrelson's gang, everybody's got to be completely different and weirdo. And
I don't think the characters in Rogue One are necessarily written much better, but I like Baze Malbus and Chiro Inuit, the two guys, the blind Jedi priest,
Kung Fu master.
Yeah, essentially Kung Fu master, and the Empire pilot and all that. Even though they weren't really given a lot to do, I felt more for those characters. I felt like there was more going on.
You definitely feel more for them.
I feel yeah.
You hardly feel anything for anyone in this movie.
Like I said, Kira is a major character, and I'm just like, she's literally Dryden Voss literally makes her go on the mission. It's almost like because the script has to. Like, we need to have you in this movie, Amelia Clark.
Right.
So you have to go and oversee this, right? It's just like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and also to go back to Rogue One, it's not the most amazing characters, but I did kind of care for them, and there was some tension. When they're doing the big seal to get the plans, etc. Like, and you felt for it because, well, at the time you didn't know everybody's going to die, so
Right.
one or two of them died, and you felt it. And in this, like the big action scene, the train heist,
The train, the video game,
yeah. I didn't.
the Six Flags ride.
I couldn't care less that like 2 people died. Like,
Yeah, no, I know. I know.
okay.
I absolutely agree. The Thandie Newton character, I don't get what she was doing. I don't get like why she had to sacrifice herself. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure some better writing would have just come up with a much better solution for that. That's
Yeah.
just bad and lazy. I
The
think.
concept is good for Star Wars. A train heist, but you're doing it in the future with the train that floats and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a decent idea, but it comes across terrible.
I guess I'll ask this question before we get into our likes and dislikes and before we even rate the thing. But tomorrow, a Blu-ray comes out that is somehow the Lord and Miller version.
Oh,
And it's as complete as it could be.
no, I'm not buying it.
Are you watching it?
Maybe I'll throw it on Disney Plus and do laundry. I don't know.
I don't have Disney
I
Plus,
don't-
so I
I don't
won't
think
watch
so.
it for a long time because
Really?
I have such a backlog of good movies, and a half done movie is like
Okay, let's just say let's say
Director's cut comes out.
that there's a director's cut that's a complete movie. I guess that's more what I was trying to say.
fully fleshed out.
Fully
movie.
fleshed out, and now you could see a maybe more intended version. Does that interest you?
no. Someday, rainy day when I'm completely bored, years from now, it would be like the last thing I get to.
Let's dub it. Let's dub it the.
I think that's a no.
No,
I'm pretty sure that's a no.
Let's dub it the Snyder cut.
No.
Okay. Would you? So you're the same way. I would be interested in seeing it, but I understand what you guys mean. I understand what you guys mean. All right. Let's do likes and dislikes. Let's start with the Manster. Manster, give us a like about Solo, a Star Wars story. Something that makes you say, I enjoy this enough in this movie.
I think I already said it earlier. I liked Donald Glover's portrayal of Lando. I think he has some great delivery. I really like him, and I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him and his sportsmanship.
All right. Officer Mike, something you enjoyed of this movie.
So there are a few things I like, but I'm going to piggyback off the Lando. I really loved that the Millennium Falcon under Lando is pristine.
Oh yes,
And gorgeous and white, and it even had, because I remember that's from fan fiction, that it has the
Escape
pod in the middle, so it doesn't have the.
is that where that's from
split.
fan fiction?
Yeah, that was in the extended universe that people
Oh, okay.
explained away why there's like a hole in the middle of the ship. But
Well, technically, and I never knew this, but years ago when like Haynes manuals started coming out with all those like manuals for actual ships and stuff, so it's a Corellian freighter.
Yeah.
And that cutout in the front is supposed to be so it can push like freight boxes in space. So like it's supposed to be like it slides into the cargo and then can move it across like a certain area.
Lando retrofitted it with a little
escape pod.
All right.
Yeah.
interesting.
I agree with you. I do like the pristineness of the Falcon. I like the inside of the Falcon. I like the fact that the Falcon has a cape room we never knew about.
Well, yes.
Yeah, and it's totally in Lando's wheelhouse. I mean, you can see that just by knowing that character.
And I like seeing different things. Like, Han has made a comment in one of the Star Wars movies that he's worked on it. When Tobias Beckett is on the cannon, it's a single cannon as opposed to the quad cannons that we're used to. I didn't like the look of it from the outside. Like with that escape pod, it kind of looks like a mini, like almost like a triangle, like a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a little flatter than what I'm used to.
Didn't the saucer fold down or something like that? It was a little bit different than it was.
It gets the radar dish
saucer?
gets ripped off.
Yeah.
yeah,
in this
okay,
movie.
it gets ripped off.
Yeah,
In
and then when you
black
get to
hole area.
yeah, and then
Kessel Run.
when you get to the Last Jedi or Force Awakens, it's got a square
Yep.
instead of the round saucer.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone on the Twitter feed, I think it was 8-Bit Ray from Gorilla Brain podcast, said that he said this was I think a trash movie, and he said that you essentially don't make a whole movie based on a line in another movie, and that's this whole movie is like kind of the Kessel
Yeah.
Run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we got the Kessel Run, we got to show that eventually.
Well, I have 2 pages of lines that they're building on. It's just funny.
Give us some lines, give us some stuff that
Yeah, that's part of my dislikes.
Yeah, I mean, right from the beginning, right in the opening scenes with the snake
you know what? Hold
woman.
on, you know what? Stop.
All right.
We'll throw that into the dislikes.
Okay.
When we get to the dislikes, we could have like the lines that kind of it just goes more along with that.
Yeah, all right.
I'll give you one that I thought was great. As a video game nerd,
Yeah.
when she beats up when they're going into the fortress or into the mine, and she beats somebody up, and Solo says, "What happened? What is that?" And she says, "This is Terrace Kazi." I thought that was a great nerd video game drop because that's So in the PS1 era, they made because everybody had to have a fighter. They made a one-on-one fighter for Star Wars, where like Solo, Leia, everybody fought it was a pseudo. It looked like Mortal Kombat because they got real people, and then it was trying to be Street Fighter, and they called it Star Wars Terrace Kazi, and the Terrace Kazi is supposed to be the kung fu of the Star Wars universe. It was awful.
All right, so that's a good callback.
Yeah, so I thought that was really funny. All right,
so
give it to 'em.
that goes into your likes. All right, that line goes into your likes. All right, my likes. I'll tell you one that I like right off the bat. A character that has always been a side character. I mean, he's a side character in this too, but I like the fact that Chewbacca gets like some screen time. Like you actually get a little bit more forward Chewbacca stuff. And I gotta be honest, as much as I didn't care about L3 and her, like, I've got to free the droids, and or Han and Kira, whether they ever got together, the whole bit in the mine when Chewie is like totally obsessed with freeing the Wookiees, I was actually like, free those fucking Wookiees,
Yeah,
Chewie.
free that Wookiee.
Free that Wookiee. And I'm telling you right now, that scene where you got the emaciated Wookiees and they're trying to take off, and the Wookiees are trying to get him to go with him, and he stays with Han, and him and the other Wookiee put their heads against each other.
Oh, yeah.
I swear to God, that was the only moment of this fucking movie that, like, I didn't cry.
You got verklempt.
I got verklempt.
I knew it. I knew it.
Absolutely
You old
verklempt.
softy.
Absolutely verklempt for a second. I felt like I was glad that we got a little bit of Chewbacca time. Do I love the way him and Han met? The beast in the pit.
I was going to ask you that. Obviously it's a throwback to Jedi,
Right.
but why Wookiees don't eat people? They beat people up. They rip their arms off.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
don't eat people.
He does rip arms off in this though too.
Of course.
I thought
He
that
does.
was a good scene when he tears the arms off that dude.
Yeah.
And also, little moments like some of his callback moments, like when he's playing Beckett in the holographic chess, and
Yep.
you can't hit it; it's a hologram.
Right.
Yep.
I like bits like that. So I think Chewbacca being a little bit forward was a like for me. Master, what else you got?
You really got my other big like was Chewbacca stuff. Like you said, I'm not so excited about their meeting, but it was cool to see that it was Chewbacca in there, in all the bits, and like you said, the head and the shoulder or whatever, head to head. That was good. That was good stuff.
Officer Mike, what else do you have for a like?
Yeah,
I got a
little
couple.
bit. Oh,
I've got
really?
a
You got
couple.
more?
Yeah, I'm not crazy, but I got a couple.
Okay. You go because I'm running out.
All right. I like one of mine. We already talked about a little bit earlier, so I'll throw it out here now. Woody Harrelson. I like Woody Harrelson. I like Tobias Beckett. It's unfortunately the two characters in this movie that I would have liked to see more get killed. Tobias Beckett, and I like Dryden Voss. I like Paul Bettany, and I think Paul Bettany has the ability to play either a really good guy or a slimy
he
fuck.
does. He's good at that.
And he is a really slimy
Like
fuck
when he
in
kills
this.
that guy with the vibro blade in the beginning.
Yes.
And then he's like practically orgasmic about it.
Well, I love the scene too where when they come and they failed,
Yeah.
getting the coaxium, and he's like, we'll talk about that. And as soon as they get into his private area, he's literally like just fucking different.
Yep.
Super pissed off, and he's like, "I'm going to have to kill you now." You know, and I liked him. So the two of them I liked a lot. But if I have to throw one more out there while Mike is gathering his stuff up, I liked the World War I trench battle in the beginning. The battle itself isn't amazing.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick scene.
But I like the idea that, you know, and it's kind of weird to kind of note that the Empire has like these infantrymen that are not stormtroopers. Right. Han is one of them. And they're on this like mud planet.
He's in the trenches.
They're in the trenches, you know, when they do kind of show them regrouped, it's very 1917.
Wouldn't it go from a cut where that guy, the officer, was saying, "Oh, I'm sure you'll fly," and then it goes right to him flying through the air?
Yeah. I like that.
That was funny.
I like that. Mike, could you find something in there? Could you find anything on your little notepad?
Nope.
Nothing. Okay, let's
That's
go to
Yeah, I
dislikes.
think we're all done.
Let's go to dislikes. All right, let's go to the Manster. What's your first dislike?
If I ever have to fucking hear the word coaxium again, I'm going to scream. All right? I'm just so sick of that. I did not like the Kessel Run. I didn't like the space squid. I didn't like injecting coaxium into the fuel line.
The manifold.
Things don't work that way. Come on. I didn't like
It's
it.
a
I didn't
galaxy
like it. I
far, far
did not
away.
like that stuff. I didn't need to see every little thing that I've ever heard in Star Wars explained and shown
in
to
one
me.
shot.
It works because it's a mystery. All this stuff, it's better if I don't know that. I don't need to know that. It makes it worse when I know it.
Oh yeah, there's no need to go back to it, especially since for years it's just been a joke that it's a parsec,
Right.
and
Yeah, it's not
what
speed.
what does that mean, and etc. But I thought that was kind of expected. I just didn't realize that they were going to name drop every other thing. Radium Freight from the beginning. He's got a thermal detonator.
That part is entirely stupid for one reason, but then I'm glad they do something in that scene. So he pulls out the thermal detonator, right?
Yep.
So we have the Return of the Jedi reference, right? But then he makes the noise with his mouth, which I thought was incredibly dumb. But I actually like that she goes, "You just made a clicking noise with your mouth."
Yeah.
That saved itself because I couldn't remember that scene.
You're right.
And I
You're
thought, fuck, if she thinks that it's real and he just went like that, but I did like the fact that she goes, "You just made a clicking sound with your mouth."
Yeah. And I'll just say overall, so I don't know if it was my copy, I don't know you guys, but the entire movie is gray and it's dark. I get it. On Corellia is supposed to be terrible, so it's super dark.
Yeah.
But even when they're out in the snow, up in the mountains, it's kind of just like there's like a tint over the whole thing.
I think mine was distracting, but I get what you're saying. They're in a lot of gray kind of areas. They're in a
drab.
mining. Yeah, they're in a mining colony at one point. They're in the mountains during like this kind of snowy bit. Yeah.
But which should have been super bright and whatever, but it wasn't. And then the trench warfare again is just brown.
It's brown and
dark.
muddy and dark. Yeah.
The backgrounds. The only thing I found interesting was that the bad guy's ship was this monstrous vertical
Yacht.
yacht. Yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. It was an interesting change.
All right.
But otherwise,
It
then
just
we're in
looks
a
like
desert.
a really tall, like a skyscraper
Yeah,
floating.
but moving.
That was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Do you have any other lines that you found particularly like? Why did we have to just include this in here?
Oh, I have the whole notebook here. So I have to ask why every place that you go to, there's a land speeder, exactly like episode 4.
Yeah.
It's a complete repeat. The story, it's a complete repeat of Han owing Jabba. It's just literally the
Right.
same thing again.
And we also have to reference Jabba without saying Jabba.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this gangster on Tatooine.
Big gangster.
C-3PO, they do the spice mines of Kessel
Yes.
because C-3PO said it. They attach the homing beacon to the Falcon again. Just like that. We talked about the Kessel Run. They talk about Lando's going to go to a mining colony because, he says the mining colonies are the worst, but of course he ends up in a mining colony.
Right.
They have the same restraints when we first see Chewie that he has when they lock him and they bring him on the Death Star.
How is it so easy to catch a Wookiee? Seems like he's always being captured.
Yeah,
who
true.
can
Yeah.
capture him?
Maybe they have darts and knock him out.
All
Now,
right,
I do
guess.
have a question that this movie did
He's
make
the
me
most
think
captured
about.
person in the whole Star Wars universe.
So Lando has this giant cape closet, right?
yeah.
And we have a scene where Tobias Beckett, when they land on the spice mine of Kessel and they're pretending to be, they go there to sell them off as slaves, which I thought was a stupid plan. Like you're going into this huge operation, you've got a Wookiee and another guy, and you're like, do you want to buy these too? You know what I mean? Tobias Beckett is wearing the skiff guard costume that Lando wears in Jedi. So, so listen, follow my logic here.
I got it.
Follow my logic here. So for years, people noticed at the end of Empire, Lando is wearing Han's clothes when they leave the medical frigate to go to Tatooine, right? That's been a thing. He's wearing Han's clothes.
All right.
Okay.
Are those really his clothes that Han's been fucking wearing the whole time? Han wins the fucking Millennium Falcon and might say, hey, look, these capes and everything are too garish for me. But he finds this vest outfit and goes, I'm going to fucking wear that. So maybe at the end of Empire, Lando's just wearing his clothes again.
Could be.
All right? I'm just saying.
That follows. That tracks.
Track
right?
that logic
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
Track that logic. So, because again, we had to make it a point to, when I was reading like about this movie, they're like, they added a whole new set to the Falcon. It's a hallway and a cape closet. And a bed.
I just popped in my head. If I don't get it out, I'm going to forget.
Go for it.
When they first played Sabacc, and Han Solo was clearly going to win the game, did you think that was when he won the Millennium Falcon?
The first time, probably yes.
Yeah. I definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And
a
then when
setup.
they-
You thought,
Yeah.
they would get there.
They had to give you that great final scene.
Yeah, they got to give you that.
That really exciting final
And
scene. Again,
they have to show you the little card ejector under his wrist.
Right.
to bring it back.
Thanks
later.
for showing it, so I didn't figure it out on my own.
I got a full sabacc. I'll go with a dislike on this one. Where did I put it here? The action sequences all feel flat to me, like all of them. So I do like the trench warfare scene, not for the action of it, but for the idea. Like imagine a Star Wars movie that takes place during this battle. The whole movie, like this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like every
Like some
sequence
real
that's
battle.
like a big sequence in this doesn't work for me.
The train.
The train sequence doesn't really work for me. Okay, the final battle between Han and Dryden Voss and then Kira. Oh, my dogs. Oh, and then that thing. Hold on, it's gonna be a machine gun next. All right. The final battle between Han and Kira and Dryden Voss, that's like, Terrace Kasai or whatever it's called, and like they fight each other. On the Spice Mine, the rebellion of the droids and just all the crazy shit's happening there. None of it works. Like even if so think about Rogue One, right? If we're going to compare it to something relatively along the same vein.
Right, sure.
Rogue One, the whole ending scene of Rogue One's fantastic.
Yeah, that works.
You've got that ground battle happening, you've got the sabotage happening, and then you have them, going to retrieve the plans, and they're fighting off whatever the main bad guy's name is. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But you get some really good action beats in that one. This one, every action beat, the Kessel Run, boring.
Thanks.
Boring. Like I wanted them to get sucked into that black hole.
Yeah, right.
And then you have to do the thing they do, like in Empire, which worked, where the creatures in space. Fuck, it didn't work.
Yeah, and the train sequence should have been great. I mean, how many times have we seen in great movies people hanging off the side of the trains and almost falling off and fighting on the top?
Well, you take a lot of that away when Han and Chewie can't die. Right? When you know that you're... now, I've seen good movies that are prequels that still make you... You know what this felt like to me is earlier in the week, and I enjoyed it, but Lloyd and I got the chance to go see Black Widow earlier in the week. Thanks to Dan over at BoomTube Comics. He invited us to go along. Thank you. And I did not think it was a bad movie, but the action scenes, a lot of them felt flat to me because it's a fucking prequel. And at no point do I feel like there's any real inherent danger for the Black Widow in this movie or for, Natasha or anything like that. I thought the action sequences in that movie were far and away better than Solo. I felt like they were all flat in this. I felt all flat.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that old, I'm sure you guys heard the old gag of like the first Indiana Jones, that it doesn't matter what India did because everything happened anyways. That's what it felt like. That like there's from the beginning when they run away in the land speeder and then they're in the whatever station to get, and Han gets out and
that's a prime example.
And they're chasing them.
That whole land speeder chase was fucking Snooze City, and that's starting the movie.
Yeah,
that was
I
bad.
know. And then again the the train heist should have been the biggest thing, but it wasn't.
No.
Didn't care.
Even like the laughs in some bits, like the speeder chase in the beginning when he goes through the alley sideways, and at the end he gets stuck.
Yep.
I could see that eliciting a laugh. It didn't elicit a laugh from me in this.
No.
Yeah.
No. It was.
And that's 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. It's
8.
flat.
Probably 8.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Not
So
good.
what else you got?
Well, my other dislikes here, basically we talked about them all. Just the extra subplots that they're trying to stick in there that don't make sense or don't matter. You know, the Enfys Nest, again, that goes along with the train. Tandy Newton, even the Jon Favreau character. I don't know. It just seems like they're throwing stuff in there and they don't know why.
I almost wonder if the Tandy Newton character is supposed to show us that, okay, so this guy is Han's mentor, and he could be the road Han goes down, but Han ends up becoming a good guy. He definitely has character flaws, but I wonder if they're trying to say, like, by Becca being a turncoat and also immediately not giving a shit what happened to his wife or whoever she was.
That really bothered
that
me.
Was that was the road that Han could be on, technically. Mm-hmm. He could be this loner guy, right? He could be this guy who doesn't have any connections to anything, and when something he does have a connection to ceases, that he just moves on. But Han doesn't do that. I think maybe that's what we were supposed to quell from that. I don't know if that's what we did quell from that. I don't know if I'm using the word quell correctly, to be honest with you.
I'm impressed, to tell you the truth.
Thank you. Yeah. Nobody here challenged me, so I feel good about that.
Go with it. And I thought, when Woody, his turn at the end, I thought it might be some kind of revenge for Thandie Newton's character.
Okay, yeah.
Not just like, getting away. I thought he would be like, everybody screwed me up. I'm going to blow this like whole yacht up and F all you guys. But no, he's just like, I got away with some things and I'm out of here, buddy. So so it was, well, yeah.
Were you shocked? Were either of you shocked when Han shot him?
I expected it. So no, I guess I wasn't shocked. I expected it.
What about you, Mike?
I'm shocked that they did it.
maybe
after
that's
all
it. Maybe I'm
after
more
all the
shocked that they did
Greedo bullshit that we've been through for years.
In the Disney era, especially.
Yeah.
Like he shoots him mid-sentence.
Yeah.
I actually like that bit.
And I wonder if that's like almost making up for it. You know what I mean? That they're like, Lucas lost his way a little and sort of the Greedo thing, so we're just going to plug this dude.
The Greedo
I kind of like the fact that Beckett says, good move,
yeah,
kid,
I would have
killed you.
Yeah.
All right. So that was Mike, dislikes. Anything else? I'm sure you've got something.
Overall, I think, and I don't know if you guys ever read the extended fiction, but there was a Solo Lando book by Timothy Zahn called Scoundrels. And the entire book was just them doing this big, huge heist and figuring it out together and, going undercover and, somebody's got to go get the vehicle and somebody's got to infiltrate and all this other thing. And it was really good. And the whole time I'm just thinking, that's what this should have been. Like, this is just sort of cemented Han, Chewie, and Lando and them just doing a big, huge heist. Stop trying to show like, Han got his heart broken.
All the fan service.
Yeah. All that other, I mean, like, God.
I've got a good feeling about this.
Who even cares? Who even cares at the end that you see Darth Maul?
Okay, so let's jump on that real quick.
All right.
That scene is surprising for one reason to me. Because, or at least maybe it's admirable. Darth Maul came back in the cartoon.
Right. So if you didn't watch that, I didn't.
If you had told me years ago, right before Solo came out, and you said, I heard Darth Maul's at the end of this movie, I would tell you there's no way they're going to put him in a movie where 90% of the viewing audience doesn't know he's back because they didn't watch the Clone Wars cartoon.
Right.
I actually like that choice because they don't explain it. You just go, oh, wow, maybe people went and went, how the fuck did he live? Mm-hmm. Now, here's what I don't like.
What's the timing? What is the timing? Do we know?
This is the same time period. This is like 10 years before Rogue One. Rogue One where Jyn Erso is an adult. And here's a reason. I know this.
And Rogue One is just before A New Hope.
Right. So the reason I know this is because I don't think it was cut. There's a script scene where at the end of the movie, what's her name? Enfys Nest goes to, what's his fucking name? Forrest Whitaker's character from Rogue One.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And brings him the coaxium.
Oh,
Right.
there you go with
gives
the coaxium.
gives him the coaxium because she said that she's starting a rebellion, and he's starting a rebellion. Saw Gerrera, and he's got an 11-year-old Jyn Erso with him. That was going to tie the two movies together, and you would know the time period. So she's 11 years old in Solo. You assume she's 25 or 22 in Rogue One, around that age. So this is like, let's say 10 to 15 years before Rogue One.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. But so Darth Maul,
Should be long dead.
he is
Right.
he is in charge of the, well, because he ends up
Because that
dying.
happened when Obi-Wan was just a young man.
It did,
And now he's an old man.
but Darth Maul does live to be older.
Right.
Darth Maul gets killed for real in Rebels. Obi-Wan finishes
Right, but the
job.
casual fan only knows that he got chopped in half.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm
Not
trying to
that
get
he
with.
ended up in some dumpster
Is
somewhere.
that I think it's almost admirable that they did that. Like, that's surprising. Now, what I will say is that scene is, to me, it kind of works. You know, okay, well, cool. It's fan service, but it's like, fuck Darth Maul. Like, here's a guy that we haven't seen since 1999. But then when he just ignites the lightsaber out of nowhere.
he just pulls a lightsaber with the Force. Like, why is he doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool, but why?
But that's why. Because it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, well, Darth Maul is just like a young boy, wet dream anyways. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
A guy painted red like the devil with horns. He's got a double-sided lightsaber. He's just, that's just all fan service.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought it was entirely unnecessary. And even forgetting that, I hadn't watched all the cartoons, but I knew Darth Maul came back. But it would have been perfectly fine if that was Darth Vader.
Right.
You
can see in the scene when he's sitting down, he has mechanical legs. You could actually see he's got robotic
Oh, you
legs.
can? I didn't even
you
look
see
that close.
when he's sitting in the throne and she's like talking to him as he's sitting, you could see he has like robotic legs, which is what he ends up with.
Yeah.
I guess that's it for our likes and dislikes of Solo, a Star Wars story. So this is the point where we determine which of the three T's. I'm curious. I think I've got some good feelings about what you guys are going to say, particularly Officer Mike, the law. I think I know. And I will say this. The other thing that I think I said to Lloyd when Lloyd kept challenging me about, why are we doing Solo? Why are we doing Solo? I did mention that when I talked to Officer Mike, because Officer Mike's over tonight to record the last episode of On the QT. But we always try to do 2 episodes. I said, hey, you want to do a triple T with us? Sure. Why don't we do Solo? And I think you texted back to me like, ugh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a sigh.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I told Lloyd. I said, this is his reaction.
Yeah.
So just so you know, people don't necessarily love this one. All right. Let's start with me this time.
All right, let's do it.
Saw it in the theaters once, right? Watched it again the other night.
You bought it.
Bought it. I did buy it. I bought it cheap. I will admit I bought it cheap.
You buy everything cheap. Walmart, right?
I try to Amazon.
in the bin?
Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I this one I was just like, you know what? It's on Disney Plus, but I am a physical media guy.
Yep.
Saw it once. Even before I said we're going to do this show, I just was like, I want to watch Solo again at some point in my leisure. And I'm one of those people, me and Mike have talked about it. I don't trust all that streaming shit because they can take it away.
Right.
You can't take,
I don't trust my digital.
I'm one of those
voodoo cat.
I'm one of those NRA guys with my Blu-rays. You got to pull my Blu-ray out of my cold dead hands. So in any case, I throw it in, watch it, and tolerable. It's tolerable.
All right.
It was tolerable for me
I get
3 years ago. I don't think I will see the need to throw this in anytime again soon. I'm sure there might be bits and pieces that I enjoyed more than others. It's not trash to me. I don't hate this movie. Part of my thought process was when I saw it 3 years ago in the theaters, maybe I was in a bad mood that day. Maybe I just wasn't really paying full attention. Maybe I was a little tired that day. Maybe I'll come away going, this is a treasure. This is not a fucking treasure.
Right.
This is, to me, middle T, it's tolerable at best.
Okay.
And it's not even high tolerable. It's like tolerable. Right
Middle
now.
tolerable.
Middle tolerable. Manster, where do you go with Solo?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he's not even the most interesting character in his own movie.
No, he's certainly not.
Right. He's not even top 5.
Well, that's what I was trying to say earlier was that like if Woody Harrelson wasn't in this and he was the hard lead,
Yeah.
we'd be in trouble.
Or Lando. I watch Lando all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there is a certain joy in seeing like iconic characters from a different angle. It's Star Wars and it's a universe that I enjoy. As a whole, it just feels kind of like a safe, predictable film. I didn't really need it, but I kind of don't really care. But it's right in the middle for me, just like you. It's tolerable.
All right. Let's go to the law. Yep. Officer Mike Simonetta. He is the program director, I guess you could almost say, at Connecticut Cult Classics, right? He's the guy that puts it all together, along with Scary Larry, of course. We appreciate all he does. It was great to get back a couple weeks ago for Cronenberg Night.
Actually, in person.
That was great. It was wonderful. Yeah. Mike, very special to the pint as well. We've been recording live again for like the last 2 months, I'd say. Mike, you were the last live guest we had before coronavirus.
Oh, I missed that.
You were missing that night. Yeah, we did the Greasy Strangler, and I think we did our top 10 character actors.
Yep.
And then the world changed, and nobody was allowed to come sit at my table for a year and a half.
Right.
Yeah. So you had a very special place along with Larry that night. What do you give 2018's? I think I know where we're going with this, but Solo: A Star Wars Story.
So I'm gonna say trash because I expect better out of 300 million Disney, and we're several years here free from Lucas. So we've cut the bonds that whatever wacky story that Lucas wanted, and dragged down in politics and things like that, and some of the things, like, I don't know if you guys know, but the Forrest Whitaker character in Rogue One was actually in the original Star Wars script, a Jedi that hated himself because he was mostly mechanical. Oh, okay. So that's actually taken from the original Star Wars script, and they did a good job with him there. But this is trash because I can't believe all that money, 2 directors, and Ron Howard's not a bad director. But again, it's not his movie at all. These are the producers' movies. I'm sure a million people worked on the scripts. I'm sure they probably paid 1 billion people to do punch-ups and put in every one of those lines, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's trash for me out of disappointment. It's you got to expect better. Literally the biggest company in the world with, and 300 million. Yeah, come on.
You let him down, Star Wars. You let him down.
You let him down. Yeah. Officer Mike, he's not happy.
Yes. All right. Officer Mike, you came on once and you did a Pint Movie Invitational, swimming with sharks.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. We did that during the whole COVID thing from Zoom. You don't have to do it right now, but start thinking of your next movie so that next time you come over, we could actually do something that you find joy in, that you really,
I won't shit on entirely.
Yeah, you can give it a good rating, but yeah, let's get that going. Let's get your next.
Okay, maybe the Greasy Strangler 2.
Yeah,
part 2. Ooh, if only they would make it.
Well, thanks for that one, Larry. All right, Manster, get us out of this episode. Tell everybody about Pint of Comics.
Yeah, you can find us at pintofcomics.com. You can subscribe on anywhere you get podcasts. Check out the YouTube channel and on Facebook and Twitter at Pint O Comics, and on Instagram it's at Pint_O_comics. See ya.
See you.
It's over, Johnny. It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.